Welcome, Dolphins fans, haters, and everyone in between to your favorite show discussing the greatest franchise in sports, the Miami Dolphins. This is the PhinsPod. My name is Moose, your host, and today we're going to take an introspective look at the Dolphins' 33-27 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. How did Miami play? Should we be leaving the game hopeful or a bit concerned? We're going to talk about all that as well as what the Dolphins got going forward in terms of their playoff chances. We'll discuss, and as always, we'll take a quick look at the latest stories published over at PhinsPod.com. Let's dive in.
You see emotion or something to the rest of your team, that's key.
Fake left, looking right, ball tipped, and picked off! Picked off by Byron Jones. Fumbles it at the back end, but the Miami Dolphin defense recovers.
And I tell you what, both these coaching staff, everyone knows about Andy Reid. Brian Flores is really ramping up.
3rd and 12, they got Mahomes. My goodness, that might be the sack of the year. Jerome Baker.
It's an underrated part of his game to stand in and take hits over and over again.
Now he slides, throws. He's picked for a second time. He's picked off again. This time it's Eric Rowe. Found themselves down double digits like they did against San Francisco. Came back to win. Here's a toss. Intercepted again. Howard has one. My gosh, Xavier Howard has now picked off a pass in 5 consecutive games.
So I'm just going to start off and say I was wrong. As you may remember, in last week's episode, I predicted a 30-26 victory for the Miami Dolphins. Unfortunately, the Fins fell to 8-5 on the season after a 33-27 loss to the now 12-1 Chiefs. Before we get into what plagued the Fins this game, let's do our due and let's bow down to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. It's only right. They are incredible and are capable of popping off on any given snap, as we saw a few times there. Their weapons are unreal. It's just the way it is. The team building of the Chiefs organization from Andy Reid up has been amazing over the last few years. And look, the leader of the offense, Patrick Mahomes, he is as dominant of a quarterback as I have ever seen. Miami was able to disrupt his rhythm using a combination of looks and blitzes, but he still helped his team get over that 30-point threshold yet again, and against an elite defense. So they're going to be a thorn in Miami's side for the next handful of years. But hey, that's a good problem. Because despite the loss and the many negatives, which we will touch on, the fact is this: the Miami Dolphins showed that they can hang with the best teams in football. That means they can beat anyone, and that makes you a contender. It's all about consistency and proving you can do that over the course of a season, and so far, so good for Brian Flores. The fact that Miami was able to take it down to the wire and force the Chiefs to convert on a 4th and 1 with 2 minutes left in the game to win, if they hadn't gotten that, 4th and 1, yes, Miami blew a lot of chances early to sort of make a statement and take a bigger lead than that 10-0 lead that they established in the first quarter. So yes, the young Miami Dolphins blew some chances that I think going forward they will capitalize on. But they still brought it back. Tua brought it back, and we'll touch base with how he performed. But Tua was able to bring the Dolphins within 6 points and take it down to one play. If the defense was able to make a stop, then the ball would be in Tua's hands to try to win the game. So if you're doing that against the defending Super Bowl champs and the team that I think Vegas is assuming is going to win the Super Bowl once again, I think the rebuild's going pretty good so far. And yes, the loss hurt. The fact that they made it closer hurt. But I would rather be feeling this type of pain than that smack in the face of realizing that Miami isn't close yet. I think after yesterday, we can feel like, hey, we're a few players away. The coaching is there. The quarterback seems to be there. We just need some additional weapons on the offensive side of the ball to really put us over the top and make us a legitimate contender for, I'm not going to say it. You know what I was going to say. I'm not going to say it. A legitimate contender for something wonderful. So just jumping into the game defensively, Miami clearly had a plan, and they stuck to it. They stayed true to their identity, and they consistently gave the look that they were going to pressure. They consistently put 6-7 guys up on the line of scrimmage. I'm talking about the much discussed cover zero defense that everyone's been talking about, except expectedly, Flores and Boyer called for multiple defenders who lined up in the trenches, acting like they were going to blitz, to fall back into coverage. And Miami's organic pressure from just the 3 or 4 guys left to rush was enough to force Mahomes to get rid of the ball relatively quickly. Mahomes went 24-34, so pretty efficient, 393 yards, very good, 2 touchdowns. So he got his own, but he also threw 3 interceptions. He had thrown 3 picks, I'm pretty sure, all year long. So he clearly was disrupted and not feeling like 100% mentally. Not saying physically he was fine. Mentally, Miami was doing something to him to throw him off. And look, one was a great play by Van Ginkel, so that wasn't entirely Mahomes' fault, where Van Ginkel was on the ground. He managed to get up and tip the ball right into Byron Jones's hand. The other were just 2 poor passes. Xavier Howard made one of the best defensive plays of the season, leaping and grabbing a pick against Tyreek Hill with one hand. Very reminiscent of Brent Grimes' interception some years ago against Calvin Johnson and the Lions. And that interception was able to sort of spark the Dolphins back into the game. But perhaps one of the most impressive things the defense was able to do was make the Chiefs one-dimensional. Now, that dimension is pretty fucking good, but taking away the run and making them pass was pivotal for Miami, and they showed up. So look, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the rookie running back, rushed for only 32 yards on 16 attempts. That's 2 yards a carry. Not a great performance. Le'Veon Bell did some work, but he only got 2 carries. He really should have come to Miami. I think if we had a legit back in that matchup, and I think he thinks it too, he knows, like, damn, if I was in that aqua and orange, I might have been able to help beat these Chiefs that I'm now a part of and getting 2 carries for. Should have come to Miami. But look, the defense did their job. They were able to get the ball, turn it over. Even Byron Jones, like we mentioned, got an interception. Xavier Howard made sure that everyone knew why he was the Defensive Player of the Year front runner. And they made Mahomes look a little bit shaky with the sack, some incompletions. But, eventually they're going to score. You can only contain them, and Miami's offense just didn't do enough to capitalize on the opportunities that Brian Flores, Josh Boyer, and the really talented defensive unit was providing for them. Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, they did what they do, chunk plays which just snatched the souls from the defense. Kelce did have the better day with 8 receptions for 136 yards and a touchdown. He had that amazing catch over Eric Rowe where Rowe played it well. It was just Kelce was the better player, and he came down with the ball. Hill added 3 catches for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns, with one of them being a rushing touchdown where he just blew right by the defense. That was painful to watch. Once he got by that initial, force at the line of scrimmage, I thought that there'd be some secondary help, at least shove him out for like a 14, 15-yard gain. But nah, he managed to just run right past everybody straight to the end zone. And that was just a flash of the type of team they have over in Kansas City. Defensively for Miami specifically, there were multiple players who had good days. Jerome Baker flashed, and we talked about how people on the defense, in order to contain the Chiefs, would need to play well, have some really good days, and it was very good to see that they, in fact, did. Jerome Baker flashed with 5 tackles. He had 2.5 sacks. I believe I read somewhere that that's the first time a player has had 2.5 sacks on Mahomes, so good on you, Baker. He was also big covering the middle of the field and keeping the flats as a non-factor. The Dolphins were not impacted much by short dump-offs to the sides of the field. They were kind of killed with some chunk plays. And look, that's going to happen against the Chiefs, but unfortunately that's just the Chiefs scheming something up that Miami wasn't ready for. Byron Jones, as we have discussed previously, got his first interception in over 2 years, so that was really good to see, him nabbing one with the Dolphins. And Emmanuel Ogbah was applying some good pressure throughout the game. I definitely noticed him sort of pushing the pocket back in Mahomes' face, forcing him to step up, kind of fade to his left, fade to his right. And then Nick Needham, he did an admirable job in the slot. We did not see his name get called too many times, and for a cornerback, that means you're having a good game. Christian Wilkins and Raekwon Davis appear to be 2 young studs. I am very excited about Raekwon Davis on the interior of this defensive line, and I'm really liking both of their trajectories, especially, the fact that Raekwon Davis was a second-round pick, and it's really showing some real high talent level. He's explosive, big, strong, quick, able to shed blocks and clog up lanes. He's also shown an ability to get into the backfield, which is nice. So he made that 3rd and 1 tackle to give Miami the ball back, forcing, the way he forced Edwards-Helaire to stop in his tracks, not allowing him to go north and south, and just bended his body. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a little muscle hamster. He's very Maurice Jones-Drew-y, except faster. And so the fact that Raekwon Davis was able to stop his momentum and just prevent him from getting those few inches he needed, it was huge. It was a big play at that point in the game. It allowed Miami to get the ball back and bring the game closer. which again was huge that the Dolphins were able to maintain, relevance in this boat race that the Chiefs had started, at the start of the second half. And look, Christian Wilkins, going back to that defensive line, he's been solid, making his presence known in the run game as well as in the passing game. He causes the pocket to begin breaking down, which has been huge following the loss of Devon Godshaw. So the fact that you get both Raekwon Davis and Christian Wilkins filling in along with Zach Sealer has really helped sort of aid that loss of Devon Godshaw. And hey, if he's able to come back, which everyone thought he would be able to get back before the end of the season, that'd be great to have another defensive tackle in the rotation. I don't know how rusty he would be. I don't think so. He's a vet, so you would think, he'd be able to kind of come right back in. But you do lose strength. He's missed a few months now, so I don't really know if it's realistic to expect to see Godshaw back. But hey, the more the merrier on that interior of the defensive line. And I'd say perhaps one of the best players of the day was Bobby McCain. He played very well. And the reason I say that isn't because of plays he made, but it's because of plays that were made when he was not on the field. If you remember, McCain was forced off the field due to concussion protocol, and Miami had to roll with Clayton Fejedelem. Clayton, with a name almost as ugly as his play. In the two plays without Bobby, we let up a huge chunk play over the middle of the field, and then the touchdown right after over the top to Tyreek Hill, which really kind of caused some separation in the game. He's the captain of that defensive backfield, talking about McCain here, and he showed his value. He's clearly made a nice transition to free safety. I was not a fan of the initial move. I wanted to keep him at slot corner. I thought that's what he could do best. Clearly, Flores is, he's a millionaire for a reason. He gets paid the big bucks for a reason. He envisioned McCain making the transition much more smoothly, and the end result has been really good to see. And of course, best defensive player in the league, best player on the Dolphins, the X-Man, Xavier Howard. He was not tested often, but when Mahomes did look his way, there was nothing doing. He made that spectacular interception in the end zone, which, like we mentioned, gave Miami life. And look, that interception is what kept them in the game and allowed for such a close finish. Howard has not been only the team MVP, but a real contender for that Defensive Player of the Year. He has been that good. He has proven that he's elite and he can cover any receiver in the game. That includes you, DeAndre Hopkins. And look, and he's a ball hawk too. He's going back 3 seasons now, and he's leading the league in turnovers. And he's missed like 10, 15 games. So Xavier Howard is definitely in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. I'm very happy we have him locked up for a while. And I really just think he's going to stay consistently this good. I don't see a fall off. Frankly, he seems to be getting better and better, and he's still pretty young. I believe he's like 26, 27 years old. So definitely a good future for the Dolphins defense there. However, despite some of these good performances, there were miscues and breakdowns, which you can't do against the Kansas City Chiefs. Not to mention some poor special teams play, which is rare from the Dolphins unit. But the Chiefs, I believe, are also a top 5 special teams unit. So not too surprising that they were able to make a play happen. And they had that play in the form of a punt return touchdown for Kansas City. So it just wasn't enough. No matter how good the Dolphins defense did play, it just still wasn't enough. But look, the defense showed that they can hang with the best of the best. That's as good of a quarterback as you're ever going to face. And you made him look kind of mediocre at times. And look, at the very least, they don't give up. And that is huge, huge going into the final 3 games. Miami needs to have their defense playing in tip-top shape in order for them to stand a chance against the Patriots, Raiders, and Bills. Specifically, Raiders and Bills. I'm not too worried about this weekend, but we'll get into that. The defense did not give up, despite going down 20 points, despite the offense not capitalizing on the turnovers that were provided for them. So that's really good to see, and it just shows that Brian Flores has these guys coached up and ready to go. So jump into the offensive side of the ball. Oh, Tua. I said I wanted him to show me something, and oh boy, did he show us all something. Tua has had his best game yet, and that, I feel like we're saying every week. But truthfully, with the depleted unit of skill position players that he had to deal with, he managed to throw for 28 of 48, 316 yards, and 2 passing touchdowns, both to Mike Gesicki, and his first ever interception, unfortunately, off of a tip. So, hey, not like a horrid throw. It was a deep bomb to a really short receiver, tipped up in the air, and hey, having a potential future Hall of Famer be the one to pick you off, and Tyrann Mathieu, ain't the worst. I was wrong in the fact that Miami did not utilize Tua's legs that much. He did run the ball 6 times for about 24 yards and a touchdown, but they were usually just when the pocket broke down and not in any designed fashion like I anticipated they would do. I do think a part of that had to do with Tua getting his ankle rolled up on early in the game by Austin Jackson. The injury definitely had some sort of impact on how the game got called thereafter, so it makes sense that we didn't see him roll out to his left or do any designed runs like a read option play or anything like that. Speaking of designed runs, Miami was unable to establish anything on the ground, and that was sort of expected considering Miami was without Gaskin, Breida, Savon Ahmed, DeAndre Washington. In his role, he performed admirably, but he just wasn't dynamic enough and never made an eye-popping play. Lynn Bowden, however, continues to be a good find as he had another career day this week. He finished the game with 7 receptions for 82 yards. There's definitely some rapport building between him and Tua. And look, Miami has him locked up for 4 years. He is a rookie this year. He was acquired from the Raiders. So it's good that for 4 years now going forward, 3 more after this season, he can develop with Tua and hopefully become a weapon because he showed that with the ball in his hand, he will make that first guy miss every time. And then moving on to other pass catchers who did really well, Mike Gesicki. He was an animal this week once again. He hauled in 5 passes for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns. Unfortunately, he suffered that injury on his final reception, and we're waiting to hear the severity of it. Again, by the time of this recording, we don't know how many weeks he's expected to miss. If you're listening and you do know, hopefully it's not too bad. My guess is it's just a stinger, the way he landed on his neck and shoulder. Hopefully it's just a stinger, and he'll be out a few weeks. Nothing in terms of torn rotator cuffs or any shoulder injuries that potentially could linger long term and into next season. So hopefully it's just something light. And by light, I still mean a few weeks. I don't expect it to be him be able to inject something into it and play. But ideally, having him in time for the playoffs, if Miami was able to sort of rattle off a couple wins over the next 3, that would be really, really helpful, considering that the rapport is building there as well between Mike Gesicki and Tua. But unfortunately, that was about it in terms of the help that Tua received. Mac Hollins had a nice catch, but other than that, he was unable to really gain any separation. Neither was Antonio Callaway, which is disappointing considering his speed, but I just think that also has to do with some game reps that he really needs. And I think over the next few weeks, hopefully we start seeing him flash open a few more times. And look, as we mentioned, I do still think that Callaway has a lot to offer, especially with a quarterback like Tua. And Jakeem Grant has just been such a disappointment. I would rather another speed guy, a bigger speed guy with better hands, being able to catch a perfectly placed ball over the middle. It would be really nice to see. In terms of Jakeem Grant, look, he's flat out been a disappointment. Use him as a gadget player in the slot, crossers, just not deep. He's not big enough, nor are his hands there. If he had very short hands, I would be able to overlook the size. But the fact that you're telling me he's small and iffy with catching the ball, he has to earn those bombs thrown his way and with tough catches, and he has not shown ability to do any of that stuff consistently. So I really think Miami should look to start phasing him out a little bit, as he has been a bit of a disappointment. The offensive line performed well, but they did allow 4 sacks and that safety. And look, some of those were on Tua for holding the ball for too long, not getting rid of the ball when you're in the end zone. But look, the general takeaway is despite going down 30-10 and after a demoralizing safety, Tua kept his head up and the offense followed his lead. They were able to engineer some drives, and Tua began throwing the ball all over the lot. He looked confident and comfortable, and it felt as though the game was slowing down for him. And that's a trend that I think we're noticing. He's starting a bit shaky, but easing in. That's great. Vice versa is worse to have. If you're starting good and then you're getting a little shaky as defenses throw more at you, that means you're predictable. It means you're coming out with, a script that you've practiced all week, but when things get dicey, it's harder. For what it seems like with Tua is when it comes out in the script doesn't fit him. And then finally, when Miami's forced to really rely on what he does well, he kills it. So now all we need is for the time between him taking his first game snap and then being in a rhythm to shorten. We need that to be, hopefully, eventually when he hits that ceiling he has, he'll be as good as he will be right from jump. But obviously it's expected that it'll take him a little bit longer to figure a defense out and determine what they're trying to do to him. But hopefully instead of that being a first half, second half story, it becomes a, first few drives, the rest of the game. If you guys follow what I'm trying to say, it just feels like generally he's getting better and better as the game progresses. I would just like that better and better to speed up. And look, that comes with time. But the good news is that the ability is there. We're seeing that ability. I felt in the moment that 4th and 1 that they ended up converting the Chiefs to get that field goal and put the game away. I felt in that moment, if we got the ball back, we were going to do something with it. That's the confidence that Tua brings. The fact that Tua can make something special really happen is why he was taken 5th overall. And look, he played very well, again, against Patrick Mahomes.
And I just give him the credit for the resiliency. They're down, they went up 10-0, 28 straight points by the Kansas City Chiefs, but yet they come back in there. And the way Tua finished the game, taking his team down the field, that is going to be something to me that they can build off of. And you watch him right there, Phil, I thought, he did a lot of good things.
Oh, he actually did. I thought he hung in there. It was a rough day. He hurt his ankle early. Gesicki for the touchdown. Man, every team lets him get out to his left, and he is deadly throwing the football on the run. I mean, the quick passes over the middle early in the game, went down the field when he had to. Well, that was a nice throw to Gesicki again for the touchdown. Hope he's okay. But 28 of 48, 316, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1 rushing touchdown. And I think you said it right. The Miami Dolphins, they hung in there and they fought. They got a very young offensive line. They got pushed around for quite a while. And then they what's really amazing, once you start getting beat, it kind of continues that way. But their offensive line kind of hung in there, and Tua finished up the game strong.
Looking ahead, Miami will be facing the New England Patriots. Our division foes are not faring so well, and I am loving it. They're sitting at 6-7. Bill Belichick is looking like he needs Tommy Boy, and Tommy Boy is looking like he needs Bill. So how great are they both, really? Miami needs this win for their playoff chances and to maintain any hope of catching up to Buffalo for the division, although I think that ship has sailed, unfortunately. Whatever. We'll get 4 of the next 5 years for sure. We'll also be discussing this matchup in further detail, talking about the Pats later this week, and it should be a good one in South Beach and a chance to avenge that 21-11 loss in Week 1 up in Foxborough. Miami needs to win this game. New England is just straight up an inferior opponent. Am I worried that Bill Belichick has an amazing record versus rookie quarterbacks? Yes, I am. I mean, Justin Herbert was balling, then he met Bill Belichick and he looked like a turtle. He was just a turtle on his back. And I don't think Tua will play that bad, but yes, he will be confused, and Miami's going to have some form of a game plan in order to combat that confusion and hopefully get either Breida or Myles Gaskin back into the lineup. But like I said, stay tuned. We'll be talking about that later this week. Thank you guys so much for listening. That's going to do it for us here today. I hope you enjoyed this recap episode. Everyone, take a deep breath. Although the Dolphins let an amazing opportunity to make a league statement, slip away, it's important to remember Miami is young and they're only going to learn from a game like this. It can pay dividends as soon as next month if the team is lucky enough to be playing into January. A tough game like this, where they had to fight and claw back and still lost, potentially you can learn some things from that. So when you get in a rough situation, when it really counts, you can rely on that experience and overcome. Make sure you fans recover and reset, because Miami is going to be looking to get their 9th win. That's a winning season. Their 9th win against Bill Belichick and the Cheatriots. Look, it's Pats week. Let's fucking go. I appreciate you tuning in for this episode of the PhinsPod. As always, I really hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to subscribe to the show wherever it is you listen. Really helps, getting people to find the show, and it helps us grow, and the community gets bigger and bigger every week. So I really appreciate you guys for that. Never miss a chance to chat about your favorite team, the Miami Dolphins. The show itself is available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, iHeartRadio, YouTube. Continue the conversation on Twitter and Instagram. Follow us at PhinsPod, and check out the site for news and content. That's phinspod.com. I hope you have an amazing day, and until next time, stay safe. Love y'all.